Where's the
I've been
buffet?
looking up the music.
There's no buffet.
Studio B has a buffet.
Oh, fine. The next play, you can go there.
This doesn't look like the
I don't
Planet
understand.
Man to me.
I had a couple of drinks on the train.
Again? Okay, you sit for the performance and stay seated.
Well, if you
Talk
can drink
them up
on the...
if you can.
Are we going
Somebody
to be
say-
drinking tonight?
We have 1 minute to air, folks.
Somebody
1
say
minute to air.
eggnog?
No,
There's something good that goes with eggnog.
not till
I think it's
after.
rum.
Yes.
What's the name of this one? It's not the Flight of the Man.
No, this is the Christmas Carol. We've been rehearsing for weeks. Oh my gosh. 30 seconds to air. Are you guys ready in the sound at the Foley table? Are we ready in the booth? All right. We're on the air in 5, 4, 3.
KBRD, Long Beach, California, USA.
This presentation is made possible in part by
the Historical Society of Long Beach, featuring their latest exhibit, Chrome, Cruising Clubs and Drag Strips. The Historical Society of Long Beach, where history lives. Melinda McCoy's Flowers. Nothing touches the heart like a beautiful bouquet from Melinda McCoy. National Cleaners and Laundry, the official cleaners of the Long Beach Shakespeare Company. Machen Sign Company, people pay attention to a Machen sign. And EJ's Pub, good food, good service, great fun. EJ's, your neighborhood pub.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am the ghost of Charles Dickens. By the magic of, well, magic, I'm able to speak to you about something I wrote once upon a time. I endeavored in this ghostly little book to raise the ghost of an idea which shall not put my readers out of humor with themselves, with each other, with the season, or with me. May it haunt their houses pleasantly, and no one wish to lay it to rest.
The Long Beach Shakespeare Company presents A Christmas Carol, based on a story by Charles Dickens, as presented by Orson Welles for his CBS Campbell Playhouse radio program on December 24th, 1939. When Charles Dickens presented this little story to the world in 1843, he found an instant response in the hearts of people everywhere, who saw in it the true meaning of Christmas. 100 years later, it became an annual tradition to hear Lionel Barrymore play Ebenezer Scrooge on the radio in this very script we present for you now.
Marley was dead to begin with. There's no doubt whatever about that. The register of his burial was signed by the clergyman, the clerk, the undertaker, and the chief mourner. Scrooge signed it, and Scrooge's name was good upon anything at the exchange for anything he chose to put his hand to. Old Marley was as dead as a doornail. Scrooge knew he was dead? Well, of course he did. How could it be otherwise? Scrooge and Marley were partners for I don't know how many years. But he was a tight-fisted hand at the grindstone, was Scrooge. A squeezing, wrenching, grasping, scraping, clutching, covetous old sinner. Once upon a time, of all the good days in the year, on Christmas Eve, old Scrooge sat busy in his counting house, a grim, cheerless place if ever there was one. The door of Scrooge's counting house was open, that he might keep an eye upon his clerk, Bob Cratchit, who, in a cold and dismal little cell beyond, worked at his ledgers.
Comfort and joy.
19, 20, 21, 22, comfort and joy. God rest ye. 23, 26, 29, carry the 2. Dismay. Remember Christ our Savior. 17, 13, 17, 7, 6,
Cratchit!
Yes, Mr. Scrooge?
Stop that infernal caterwauling.
Yes, sir. 9, 15, 17. I don't know why he doesn't like
Singing their idiotic Christmas carols at my very door.
26.
Go on! Get away from my door!
Please, sir.
Go somewhere else and bellow your blasted carols. I'll give you what...
Why, Governor? It's an old custom at Christmas time, you know?
Yes, and I don't want any of your old customs. Take your fellow fools and go away. Christmas, bah.
Right, sir. Merry Christmas anyway, sir.
Humbug!
Good King Wenceslas last looked out on the feast of Stephen.
Now, you get that letter from Higgins and Blackthorn, Cratchit, and then I want you to finish posting this ledger. And after that, you can pop over to Parthagil's and tell Ephraim Parthagil you've come after the 17 shillings and 6 he's owed me since Michaelmas. And tell him I shall have a constable over there if he doesn't pay up at once.
Mr. Parthagil's wife has been ill, sir.
What do I care about his wife? I want my 17 and 6.
Well, I just thought it being Christmas, sir, that maybe...
Christmas? Christmas. You mention that word once more to me, Bob Cratchit, and so help me, I'll...
Merry Christmas, Uncle! Merry Christmas, Bob!
Merry Christmas, Mr. Fred.
Oh, God save you, Uncle.
Humbug.
Christmas a humbug, Uncle. Now, I'm sure you don't mean that.
I mean just that. Exactly that. Merry Christmas. What right have you to be merry? What reason have you to be merry? You're poor enough.
Well, what right do you have to be dismal about Christmas, Uncle? What right do you have to be morose? You're rich enough. Oh, now, Uncle, don't be cross.
Well, what else can I be when I live in such a world of fools as this? Merry Christmas? What's Christmas time to you but a time for paying bills without money? A time for finding yourself a year older and not an hour richer? If I could work my will, every idiot that goes about with Merry Christmas on his lips should be boiled in his own pudding and buried with a stake of heart through his heart he should.
Uncle!
Nephew, keep Christmas in your own way and let me keep mine.
Keep it? But you don't keep it.
Well, then let me leave it alone then. What do you want? A Christmas gift, I have no doubt.
I came to wish you a Merry Christmas, Uncle.
Merry Christmas. Much good may Christmas do you. As much good as it's ever done you.
Well, there are many things from which I have derived good, by which I have not profited materially, I dare say, Uncle, Christmas among the rest. But I am sure I have always thought of Christmas time when it has come round as a good time, a kind, forgiving, charitable, pleasant time, well, the only time I know of in the long calendar of the year when men and women seem by one consent to open their shut-up hearts freely and to give of people below them as if they were really fellow passengers to the grave and not another race of creatures bound on other journeys. And therefore, Uncle, though it has never put a scrap of gold or silver in my pocket, I believe that it has done me good and will do me good. And I say, God bless it.
God bless Christmas. God bless you, Mr. Fred.
Let me hear another sound out of you, Bob Cratchit, and you'll keep your Christmas by losing your situation.
Yes, sir.
As to you, nephew, I wonder you don't go into Parliament. You talk enough nonsense.
Oh, don't be angry, Uncle. Come, dine with us tomorrow.
I will not.
But why? Why?
Why did you get married?
Because I fell in love.
Because you fell in love.
Yes.
With a penniless girl?
Yes.
More ridiculous than a Merry Christmas. Good afternoon.
Nay, Uncle, you never came to see me before that happened. Now, why make it a reason for not coming now?
Good afternoon.
I want nothing from you. I ask nothing of you. Why can't we be friends?
Good afternoon.
Well, I am sorry with all my heart to find you so resolute. We have never had any quarrel to which I have been a party, but I've made this visit in homage to Christmas, and I'll keep my Christmas humor to the last. So, a Merry Christmas, Uncle.
Good afternoon.
And a Happy New Year.
Good afternoon.
And a Merry Christmas to you too, Bob, and the missus, and Tiny Tim.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Fred. Same to you, sir. Good day, sir.
Good day, Bob.
Nonsense, twaddle flummery, talking of Christmas, and not 2 sixpences to jingle together in his trouser pocket. But hey, you, Bob Cratchit, come here. What are you doing there?
I'm only putting a bit more coal in the fire, Mr. Scrooge, seeing it's so cold in there, sir.
You put that coal back into the scuttle. A fire indeed. I can tell you, if you use coal at this rate, you and I will soon be parting company, Bob Cratchit. Do you understand that? There's many a young fella like your situation, you know.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir. My fingers are getting a little stiff with the cold.
Then put on your mittens. There's someone at the door. Go see who it is.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
This is the firm of Scrooge and Marley.
Yes, sir.
I should like to see the head of the firm, if I may.
Oh, very good, sir.
What is it?
A gentleman to see you, sir.
Have I the pleasure of addressing Mr. Scrooge or Mr. Marley?
Mr. Marley's been dead these 7 years tonight. I'm Scrooge.
Well, now, Mr. Scrooge, at this season of the year, it's only fitting that we who are more fortunate should raise a fund to buy the poor some meat and drink and means of warmth. You may not believe it, sir, but many thousands are now in want of common necessities. And hundreds of thousands are in want of the simplest comforts.
Are there no prisons?
Well, there are plenty of prisons, sir.
And the workhouses, they're still in operation, I trust?
I wish I could say they are not, but they are, sir.
The treadmill and the poor law are in full vigor then?
Both very busy, sir.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. I was afraid from what you said at first that something had occurred to stop them in their useful course.
No, sir. All these institutions that you mention are flourishing. But it's nevertheless true that some additional provision for the poor and destitute must be made. A few of us upon the exchange are endeavoring to raise such a fund, you see. And what shall I put you down for?
Nothing.
Nothing? Oh, I see. You wish to be anonymous, sir.
I wish to be left alone. Since you ask me, that is my answer. I don't make merry myself at Christmas time, and I can't afford to make a lot of idle people merry. I help to support the establishments that take care of the poor. They cost enough. Let those who are badly off go there.
Many can't go there, sir, and many would rather die.
Then my advice to them is to do so and decrease the surplus population. Besides, I've only your word for it that all this is so.
It's the truth, Mr. Scrooge.
Well, then, so be it. It's not my business. It's enough for a man to understand his own business and not to interfere with other people's. Mine occupies me constantly. Good afternoon, sir.
I quite understand, Mr. Scrooge. Good afternoon.
Cratchit, show this gentleman out.
Yes, sir. This way, sir, please. Sir, I couldn't help overhearing. I should like to contribute a tuppence.
Cratchit?
Yes, sir. It isn't much, but it's all I can afford. but there are others in worse situations than I.
You're a generous fellow. I wish I might say so of your employer.
Cratchit!
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Cratchit!
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Yes, sir.
Close that door!
Yes, sir. 24, 31, one carry of 3, a new scarlet tippet for Tiny Tim, a comb for Martha. Oh, she'll love that. 33, 3 and carry of 3, ink pen for Peter. He's old enough now. 4, 7, 12, 15, 22.
Cratchit?
Yes, sir. 20, yes, sir.
It's too late to have you go to Parthagil's. He'll be closed up for Christmas like these other fools. We may as well close up the place now.
Yes, sir. It is getting a little dark. Hard to see the figures.
I suppose you'll want all day tomorrow?
If it's quite convenient, sir.
It's not convenient, and it's not fair either. If I was to stop a half a crown from your wages, you'd think yourself ill-used, I'd be bound.
Well, sir, I would like to...
Yes, but you don't think me ill-used when I pay a day's wages for no work.
It's only once a year, sir.
Once a year. Once a year indeed. A poor excuse for picking a man's pocket every 25th of December. But I suppose there's no good talking. You must have the whole day. Well, see that you're here all the hour earlier the next morning. You understand?
Oh, I will, sir. I will indeed. Good night, sir, and Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.
Humbug!
Deck the halls with
The office was closed in a twinkling, and Bob Cratchit, with the long ends of his white comforter dangling below his waist, for he boasted no greatcoat, went down a slide on Cornhill 20 times in honor of its being Christmas Eve, and then ran home to Camden Town as hard as he could pelt to play with his family at Blind Man's Bluff. Scrooge, on the other hand, took his melancholy dinner in his usual melancholy tavern, having read all the newspapers and beguiling the rest of the evening with his banker's book, went to his dismal house. The yard was so dark that even Scrooge, who knew its every stone, had to grope with his hands through the fog and the frost to find the door. Now, it is a fact that there was nothing at all particular about the knocker on the door, except that it was very large. It is also a fact that Scrooge had seen it night and morning during his whole residence in that place. Also, that Scrooge had as little of what is called fancy about him as any man in the city of London. Let it also be borne in mind that Scrooge had not bestowed one thought on Marley since his last mention of his 7 years dead partner that afternoon. And then, let any man explain to me, if he can, how it happened that Scrooge, having his key in the lock of the door, saw in the knocker, without its undergoing any intermediate process of change, not a knocker, but Marley's face. Marley's face! As Scrooge looked fixedly at this phenomenon, it was a knocker again. To say that he was not startled, or that his blood was not conscious of a terrible sensation to which it had been a stranger from infancy, would be untrue. But he put his hand upon the key, turned it sturdily, walked in, and lighted his candle. He did pause, with a moment's irresolution, before he shut the door, and he did look cautiously behind it first, as if he half expected to be terrified with the sight of Marley's pigtail sticking out into the hall. But there was nothing on the back of the door except the screws and nuts that held the knocker on. So he said,
Pooh-pooh. If there were more light on my step, I would not have scared myself. But I like the dark. It's cheap.
and with that closed the door with a bang. He walked through his rooms to see that all was right. Sitting room, bedroom, lumber room, all as they should be. Nobody under the table, nobody under the sofa, nobody under the bed, nobody in the closet. Closed the door. He locked himself in. He double-locked himself in, which was not his custom, and took off his cravat, put on his dressing gown and slippers and his nightcap, and sat down before the fire to take his gruel.
What's that? There's someone in the wine cellar, but the door's locked and double locked. Something is coming. Something is coming closer. It's outside my door. But I don't believe it. It's humbug still.
Ebenezer Scrooge! Ebenezer Scrooge!
No. What do you want with me?
Much.
Who are you?
Ask me who I was.
All right then. Who were you?
In life, I was your partner, Jacob Marley.
Jacob Marley? But you're dead. You died 7 years ago.
7 years ago this very night. You don't believe in me.
No, I do not.
Why do you doubt your senses, Ebenezer?
Because a little thing affects them. A slight disorder of the stomach makes them cheats. You can't be a ghost. You may be an undigested bit of beef, or a blot of mustard, or a crumb of cheese, a fragment of underdone potato. There's more of gravy than of the grave about you, whatever you are. Humbug, I tell you, humbug. Have mercy on me. Have mercy, Jacob.
Man of the worldly mind, do you believe in me or not?
I do, I must. You are a ghost, Jacob, but why? Why do you walk the earth, Jacob? Why do you come to me?
It is required of every man that the spirit within him should walk abroad among his fellow men and travel far and wide to witness what it cannot share, but might have shared on earth and turned to happiness.
But tell me, Jacob, what is that chain you wear about you?
I wear the chain I forged in life. I made it link by link and yard by yard. I girded it on my own free will, and by my own free will I wore it. Is its pattern strange to you, Ebenezer?
Cash boxes, keys, padlocks, ledgers, and purses.
Yours was as heavy and as long as this 7 years ago. You have labored on it since, Ebenezer. It is a ponderous chain.
Jacob Marley, speak comfort to me, Jacob.
I have none to give. Comfort comes from other kinds of ministers to other kinds of men. I cannot rest. I cannot stay. I cannot linger anywhere. Oh, weary journeys lie before me.
You travel fast?
Yes, Ebenezer, on the wings of the wind.
Oh, 7 years dead and traveling all the time.
7 years, Ebenezer. 7 years of remorse. Ebenezer, do you know that no space of regret can make amends for one life's opportunities misused? Oh.
You always were a good man of business, Jacob.
Business? Mankind was my business. Charity, mercy, benevolence, they were all my business. The dealings of my trade were but a drop of water in the comprehensive ocean of my business.
Oh, Jacob, don't take on so now, Jacob.
Listen to me, Ebenezer.
I'll listen to you, Jacob. Go on now, Jacob. Speak to me, but don't be so flowery.
Ebenezer, I'm here to warn you that you have yet a chance and hope of escaping my fate. Do you hear that, Ebenezer? A chance of my procuring.
Yes, Jacob, yes. You always were a good friend to me, Jacob. Thanks, Jacob, but go on. Go on, go on, go on. How shall I escape? Oh, I'm so afraid, Jacob.
You will be haunted by 3 spirits.
Is that the only chance and hope, Jacob?
It is your only chance and hope.
Well, then, I think I'd rather not.
Without these visits, you cannot hope to shun the path I tread. Expect the first tomorrow, when the bell tolls 1.
Oh, couldn't I take 'em all at once and have it over with, Jacob?
Ebenezer, look that for your own sake, you remember what has passed between us. Remember, when the bell tolls 1, look for the first spirit.
Marley! Marley! Jacob, Marley!
Scrooge woke. He was lying on his bed, fully dressed. Suddenly, the curtains of his bed were drawn aside, and Scrooge found himself face to face with the unearthly visitor who drew them. Scrooge was as close to it as I am now to you, and I'm standing in the spirit at your elbow. It was a strange figure, like a child, yet not so like a child as like an old man. Its hair, which hung about its neck and down its back, was white as if with age, and yet the face had not a wrinkle in it, and the tenderest bloom was on the skin. The arms were long and muscular, the hands the same, as if its hold were of uncommon strength. But the strangest thing about it was that from the crown of its head there sprung a bright, clear jet of light, by which all this was visible, and which was doubtless the reason it carried a great extinguisher for a cap which it now held under its arm. Perhaps Scrooge could not have told anybody why, if anybody had been around to ask him, but he had a special desire to see the spirit wear the cap.
Ebenezer Scrooge.
Are you the spirit whose coming was foretold me?
I am that spirit.
Well, please feel free to cover your head. You could catch cold.
What? Would you so soon put out with worldly hands the light I give? Is it not enough that you are one of those whose passions made this cap and force me through whole trains of years to wear it low upon my brow?
What are you?
I am the ghost of Christmas past.
Long past?
No, your past.
What do you want from me? What brings you here to haunt me?
Your welfare, Ebenezer Scrooge. Rise and walk with me.
Oh, not out the window. No. I can't do that. I'll fall down. I'm not a spirit. I'm mortal, and I'll fall.
Bear but a touch of my hand upon your heart, and you shall be upheld in more than this. Come, follow me.
At the spirit's light touch, they passed through the wall and stood upon an open country road with fields on either side. The city had entirely vanished. Not a vestige of it was to be seen. The darkness and the mist had vanished with it, for it was a clear, cold winter's day.
Where are we? What's become of the city? And there's snow on the ground. Where are we?
These are the shadows of the things that have been. You recognize this countryside?
Oh, yes, I know every inch of it, every rock, every tree.
And that bleak building over there.
That building. I was a boy there. Yes, I went to school in that horrible place.
Do you recollect that path?
Oh, I could walk it blindfold.
Strange. You should have forgotten it so many years. Come, let us go closer. Look through the window into that cold, barren room. What do you see, Ebenezer Scrooge?
I see a boy.
A solitary child, neglected by his family, reading, alone.
Yes, I see. I know that boy. Oh, I was so lonely. Poor boy.
Ring out, wild bells, to the wild sky, the flying cloud, the frosty light, the year's night and the night. Ring out, wild bells, and let him die. Fan?
Dear brother.
Oh, Spirit, can this be? Fan, you're alive!
These are but shadows of things that have been. They are no consciousness of us.
But Fan, what are you doing here?
I have come to bring you home, dear brother.
Home, sister?
To bring you home, home for good and all, home forever and ever. Father is so much kinder than he used to be, that home is like heaven. He spoke so gently to me one dear night when I was going to bed that I was not afraid to ask him once more if you might come home. And he said, yes, you should, and sent me in a coach to bring you. And you are never to come back here. He said that it's about time you made your way in this world and has arranged for you an apprenticeship. But first, we are to be together all Christmas long and have the merriest time in all the world.
Always a delicate creature whom a breath might have withered, but she had a large heart.
So she had. I can't deny it, Spirit. Oh, God forbid.
She died a woman and had, as I think, children.
One child.
True, your nephew.
Yes, Fred.
Your lip is trembling, Scrooge. And what is that on your cheek?
Oh, it's nothing. Nothing at all. I wish, it's too late now.
What's the matter?
Nothing. Well, the waifs came to my door singing Christmas carols last night, and there was a boy like that among them. Oh, a poor, pale, thin little boy in a ragged coat. I should like to have given him something, that's all.
Is that all? Come, Ebenezer Scrooge, let us see another Christmas. Do you know this place, Ebenezer Scrooge?
Deck the halls with boughs of holly. La 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 la. Oh, delightful.
Know it! Oh, this is the counting house where I was apprenticed. Oh, look, it's my old master. Oh, bless his heart. Old Fezziwig, my master, alive again and hosting one of his Christmas parties.
Okay, everybody, it's time for the Roger de Covenant.
Oh, listen to him, listen to him. Look, there's Dick Wilkins. Oh, poor Dick. Oh, dear. Oh, yes, and look, there's Mrs. Fezziwig herself. Oh, looking younger than any of them. Oh, and the tables all loaded with roasts and cider, mince pie and beer. Oh, what a jolly time we used to have.
Okay, everybody, it's time to go into the other room for the feast.
Oh, excellent. I was waiting for this. Yes, indeed.
That carefree young man with the light heart and the happy smile Do you recognize him?
Oh, yes, merciful heaven. How happy I was then.
A small matter for old Fezziwig to make those silly folks so full of joy.
Oh, a small matter. Small indeed.
Isn't it? He has spent only a few pounds of your mortal money. Is that so much that he deserves praise?
Oh, no, it's not that. It's not that, Spirit. Oh, old Fezziwig had the power to make us happy or unhappy, to make our service light or heavy. His power lay in words and looks and things so tiny that it's impossible to count 'em up. The happiness he gave is quite as great as if it cost a fortune.
What is the matter?
Oh, no, nothing at all, Spirit.
Something, I think.
No.
Speak.
Well, only it's just that I should like to be able to say a word or two to my clerk, Bob Cratchit. That's all.
Oh, yes, good evening. A pleasant evening. And a most happy Christmas to all.
My time grows short, and we have yet another journey to make.
Where now?
Come. This is our last visit to the past, Ebenezer. Here, in this little room, with a fair young girl by your side. Do you recognize yourself, Ebenezer?
Oh, no, spare me this.
You're older now, a man in the prime of life. Your face has begun to wear the signs of care and avarice. Your eyes are greedy, the eager, restless eyes of a miser.
No, please.
She knows it too, that girl by your side. There are tears in her eyes.
It matters little. To you, very little. Another idol has displaced me. And if it can cheer and comfort you in time to come as I would have tried to do, I have no cause just to grieve.
What idol has displaced you?
A golden one.
This is the even-handing dealing of the world. There is nothing on which it is so hard as poverty, and yet there is nothing it professes to condemn with such severity as the pursuit of wealth.
You fear the world too much. All your other hopes have merged into the hope of being beyond the chance of its sordid reproach. I have seen your nobler aspirations fall off one by one, until the master passion, gain, engrosses you.
Belle, have I changed toward you?
When we were engaged, we were both poor and content to be so.
Was it better then? Better to be poor?
Better at least to be happy. You're changed. You were another man then.
I was a boy. You blame me because I've grown wiser? Have I ever tried to break our engagement?
In words, no. Never.
In what, then?
In a changed nature. In an altered spirit. In everything that made my love of any value to you in your sight. So I released you from your promise. I release you with a full heart for the love of him you once were.
Belle.
Oh, at first, it may cause you pain to lose me. A very brief pain. But soon it will be dimmed, like a half-remembered dream. An unprofitable dream. And you will be glad to awake from such a dream. May you be happy in the life you have chosen, Ebenezer.
Well, that's enough. That's enough. Show me no more. Take me home.
These were shadows of things that have been. They are what they are. Do not blame me.
No more, please.
One shadow more. Come. Do you see this man, Ebenezer Scrooge? This man might have been you, and the woman beside him, your wife. And that girl might have been your daughter, Ebenezer Scrooge. She might have called you father. She might have been a springtime in the haggard winter of your life.
Spirit, let me go. Show me no more.
Listen now, why they speak, Ebenezer.
Belle, I saw an old friend of yours today.
Who was it?
Guess.
Oh, how can I? Oh, I know. Mr. Scrooge?
Mr. Scrooge it was. I passed his office window. It wasn't shuttered. There was a candle inside, so I couldn't help seeing him. His partner, Jacob Marley, lies at the point of death, I hear. And yet, there sat Scrooge, doing business, all alone. Quite alone in the world, I do believe.
Spirit, I can't bear any more.
I told you these were shadows of things that have been, that they are what they are. Do not blame me.
Leave me. Haunt me no more. Take me back. Take me back.
In the struggle, if that can be called a struggle, in which the ghost, with no visible resistance on its own part, was undisturbed by any effort of its adversary, Scrooge observed that its light was burning high and bright, and dimly connecting that with its influence over him, he seized the extinguisher cap, and by a sudden action pressed it down upon the spirit's head. The spirit dropped beneath it, so that the extinguisher covered its whole form. But though Scrooge pressed it down with all his force, he could not hide the light which streamed from under it in an unbroken flood upon the ground.
Haunt me no longer. Take me back.
On the stroke of one, Scrooge awakened suddenly and sat bolt upright in his own bed. He remembered the words of Marley's ghost and wondered from which direction the second specter would appear. At that moment, nothing between a baby and a rhinoceros would have astonished him very much. Now, being prepared for almost anything, he was not by any means prepared for nothing. And consequently, when no shape appeared, he was taken with a violent fit of trembling. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, quarter of an hour went by, yet nothing came. Then, as he sat in his bed, he became aware gradually of a great blaze of ruddy light, which seemed to shine upon him from the adjoining room. He got up softly and shuffled in his slippers to the door. It was his own sitting room. No doubt about it. But it had undergone a surprising transformation. The walls and the ceilings were so hung with living green that it looked a perfect grove, from every part of which bright, gleaming berries glistened, and such a bright, mighty blaze went roaring up the chimney as had never been known in Scrooge's time, or for many and many a winter season gone. Heaped up on the floor to form a kind of throne were turkeys, geese, game, poultry, great joints of meat, suckling pigs, long wreaths of sausages, mince pies, plum puddings, barrels of oysters, red-hot chestnuts, and seething bowls of punch that made the chamber dim with a delicious steam. In easy state upon this couch, there sat a jolly giant, glorious to see, who bore a glowing torch in shape not unlike Plenty's horn, and held it up, high up, to shed its light on Scrooge as he came peeping round the door.
Come in, Ebenezer Scrooge, and know me better, man.
Who are you?
I am the ghost of Christmas present. Look upon me. You've never seen the like of me before.
You're different from the other spirit. You're tall, almost a giant, with a great torch you carry.
Its light pours into the homes of the rich and poor alike.
Oh, spirit, take me where you will. Last time I went against my will and learnt a lesson which is now working. If you have anything to teach me, let me profit by it.
Touch my robe, Ebenezer Scrooge. Touch my robe.
Where have you brought me, Spirit?
A humble dwelling in a humble street.
It's certainly humble.
Yet there is happiness there.
Who are these people? Who is that woman and the child?
These are the family of your clerk, Bob Cratchit. His wife is there, dressed in a twice-turned gown, but it's made brave in ribbons, laying the table for their Christmas dinner. And the young man with the fork and the stuffing, that's Master Peter Cratchit. He's wearing his father's shirt collar, loaned to him in honor of Christmas. Listen, Scrooge.
What child is this who lay to rest on Mary? What, Peter? What's going on in there?
I'm making the potatoes dance. Mother, come see.
Oh, dancing potatoes? Peter, what are you talking about?
Stand back from the pot a bit. When I blow on the fire, the flames will shoot up and the pot will bubble over.
You're quite the clever boy. Tiny Tim will love seeing that when he and his father get home from church.
Here's Martha, Mother. Hurrah, there's such a goose, Martha, and stuffing.
If Peter hasn't eaten it all, why, bless your heart alive, Martha, my dear. Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas, Mother. Merry Christmas, Peter.
Merry Christmas, Martha.
How late you are, my dear.
Well, we had a deal of work to finish up last night and had to clear away this morning.
Well, never mind, so long as you're here now. Sit ye down before the fire and have a warm. Lord bless ye.
Where's Father?
He's been to church with Tiny Tim. They'll be along directly.
How is Tiny Tim, Mother? Any better at all?
Sometimes I think he is. And sometimes I think, oh, dear God, if anything should happen to Tiny Tim.
Mother, you mustn't even think of such a thing.
Here they are. Here's Father and Tiny Tim. Let's play trick on Father. Hide, Martha, and we'll tell him you're not coming.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Hey, where's our Martha?
Not coming.
Not coming? Not coming on Christmas Day?
Here I am, Father. I can't bear to have them tease you.
Martha, Martha, welcome, my dear.
Merry Christmas, Father. And Tim.
Merry Christmas, Martha.
Oh, Tim, you darling. Oh, Father, I am so glad to be home.
Oh, and we're so glad to have you, my dear.
And how did little Tim behave in church, Bob?
Oh, as good as gold and better.
I like church, Mother. Oh, they sing the nicest songs. I hope people saw me there.
Saw you there? And why, Tim?
Well, don't you see? Because I'm lame. And if they saw my crutch, it might be pleasant for them to remember on Christmas who it was made, lame beggars walk and blind men see.
Oh, bless you, my son.
Are we ready to eat, Mother?
Yes, Peter, are the potatoes done?
Yes, children, we're all ready.
Oh, this
Come,
is really good.
come to now, Bob. You wait your turn. There's plenty. Stuffing and dressing and plum pudding for all of you. Martha, you take care of Tiny Tim.
Yes, Mother.
See that he eats plenty.
Come on, everybody,
He
let's
must
sit
get
down.
tall and well. Now,
right.
sit down.
Peter,
sit
wait,
down, everyone.
just wait, Peter. And now, my dears, shall we say grace? For what we are about to receive, we are truly grateful.
Spirit, tell me if Tiny Tim will live.
I see a vacant seat in the poor chimney corner, and a crutch without an owner carefully preserved.
Oh, no, kind Spirit. Say he'll be spared. Say he'll live.
These shadows remain unaltered by the future, Ebenezer, the child will die. What then? If he be like to die, he had better do it and decrease the surplus population.
Oh, you use my own words against me.
Man, if man you be in heart, not adamant, forbear that wicked cant until you have discovered what the surplus is and where it is. Will you decide what men shall live And what men shall die? It may be that in the sight of heaven, you are more worthless and less fit to live than millions like this poor man's child.
And in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
And now, my dears, with such a dinner, a toast. A Merry Christmas to us all, and God bless us.
Amen.
God bless us, everyone.
And now, to Mr. Scrooge.
Oh, no, he doesn't.
I give you a toast to Mr. Scrooge, the founder of the feast.
The founder of the feast, indeed, who pays you all 15 shillings a week. I wish I had him here. I'd give him a piece of my mind to feast on, and I hope he'd have a good appetite for it.
Oh, my dear, the children, Christmas Day.
Well, it should be Christmas Day, I'm sure, on which one drinks the health of such a odious, stingy, unfeeling man as Mr. Scrooge. You know he is, Bob. Nobody knows it better than you, poor fellow.
My dear, Christmas Day.
I'll drink his health, for your sake, and the day's, but not his. Long life to him, a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. He'll be very merry and very happy, I have no doubt.
And I say, God bless him too, Mother, and everyone.
Yeah, that's right.
That's very well said, well said.
There was nothing of high mark in all this. They were not a handsome family, these Cratchits. They were not well-dressed. Their shoes were far from being waterproof. Their clothes were scanty and had known very likely the insides of a pawnbroker's. But they were happy, grateful, pleased with one another, and contented with the time. When at last they faded, Scrooge had his eye upon them, and especially on Tiny Tim until the last. Many calls Scrooge made that night with the ghost of Christmas present. Down among the miners they went, who labor in the bowels of the earth, and out to sea among the sailors at their watch, dark, ghostly figures in their several stations. Much they saw, and far they went, and many places they visited, but always with a happy end. The spirit stood beside sick beds, and they were cheerful. On foreign lands, and they were close at home. By poverty, and it was rich. In almhouse, hospital, and jail, where vain man in his little brief authority had not made fast the door and barred the spirit out, the spirit left his blessing. It was a long night, if it was only a night, and it was strange, too, that while Scrooge remained unaltered in his outward form, the ghost grew older, clearly older.
My life upon this globe is very brief, Ebenezer. It ends tonight.
Tonight?
Tonight at midnight.
Spirit, there seems to be something or someone directly behind you.
Yes, Ebenezer Scrooge. Look here.
With that, the ghost of Christmas past reached behind himself, and when he brought his arms forward, he had in his big hands the thin wrist of a girl in his left and a boy on his right. He brought them fully in front of him so that Scrooge could see them clearly. Scrooge appeared disgusted with what he saw. The children, if they could truly be called the children, were bone-thin and tattered rags, their skin dirty and their hair matted, as if they had not known soap and water for years. They did not speak, but rather snarled and growled. They reached out at first to each other, and then towards Scrooge, who recoiled at the gesture. But the spirit held them fast.
Spirit, do they belong to you?
They are man's. This girl is want, and the boy is ignorance. Fear them both, but especially this boy, for upon his brow I see the word doom.
Oh, hide them. Hide them. I do not wish to see them any longer.
I thought as much. You can look, they are hid, but they still exist. Do you understand?
I'm beginning to, Spirit. Yes, I'm beginning to.
Hark! The hour has come.
Oh, no, not yet. Not yet. There is still more I wish to learn.
These you will learn from still another spirit, Ebenezer.
Oh.
Scrooge looked about him for the ghost, but it had vanished.
Oh.
And he found himself once more in his bed, in his dressing gown and his nightcap on his head. He heard the clock strike, and then he remembered the prediction of old Jacob Marley, and lifting up his eyes, beheld the third spirit, a solemn phantom, shrouded in black, draped and hooded, coming towards him slowly and silently like a mist along the ground.
I know you. You are the ghost of Christmas yet to come. You'll show me the shadows of things that have not happened, but will happen in the time before us. Answer me, Spirit, ghost of the future. I fear you more than any specter I've seen, yet I know your purpose is to do me good, and as I hope to live to be another man from what I was, lead on, the night's waning fast and time's precious. Spirit, why have you brought me here again? Here to Bob Cratchit's home. But it's not the same. Why is it so quiet? So very quiet here.
Mother, please.
My son. My little son, Tiny Tim. I loved him so.
Oh, Mother, dear, you mustn't. It's almost time for Father to be home. Don't let him see you crying.
Yes, Martha. I wouldn't want to show sad eyes to your father for all the world.
He's late tonight.
He walks slower than he used to, and yet I've known him to walk very fast indeed, with Tiny Tim on his shoulder.
So have I, Mother.
But he was light to carry, and his father loved him so that it was no trouble. There's no trouble. Bob!
Good evening, my dear.
You're late, Bob.
Yes, I'm sorry, my dear. I went to the churchyard today. I wish you could have gone with me. It would have done your heart good to see how sweet and green a place it is. But you'll see it often. I promised him. Yes, I promised Tiny Tim we'd walk there on a Sunday.
Father, dear.
It's God's will, Bob.
I'm trying to understand it, my dear. My son, my little son, Tiny Tim. And I loved him so.
Oh, that's cruel. Cruel. Spirit, can't you give me one ray of hope that I may change all that Tiny Tim may live? Where are you taking me now? Here on a common street, Spirit? What is there for me to learn here? Oh, who are those men?
I don't know much about it either way. I only know he's dead.
When did he die?
Last night, I believe.
It's likely to be a very cheap funeral, for upon my life, I don't know anybody to go to it. Suppose we make up a party and volunteer.
I don't mind going if lunch is provided.
Come to think of it, I think I was his best friend.
What?
Oh, we used to nod to each other when we met in the street.
Spirit, help me. Who is the man that died? Is there no one to mourn the poor creature? No one to follow him to the grave? Perhaps they'll give him a green grave at least, like poor Tiny Tim, perhaps. Spirit, where are we now? Oh, merciful heaven, a churchyard overrun by grass and weeds, choked with too much burying. Desolate, lonely, crumbling gravestones. Spirit, before I draw nearer to that gravestone, answer me one question. Are these shadows of things that will be, or are they shadows of things that may be only? Will you not speak to me, Spirit? What is that grave to which you point? Oh, now I see it. Oh, there's writing on that stone. The name on that gravestone is Ebenezer Scrooge. Ebenezer Scrooge. Oh, no, 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 Spirit. No, no, no. Hear me. I'm not the man I was. Why show me this if I'm past all hope? Tell me that I can change these dreadful shadows you've shown me by an altered life. I'll honor Christmas in my heart. I'll try to keep it all year. I'll live in the past, the present, and the future, and I'll not shut out the lessons that they teach. Oh, tell me, Spirit. Oh, go on. Tell me that I can sponge away the writing on that stone. Spirit, I beg you. Spirit, I beg you. Oh, Spirit. Spirit, no, I promise on my knees. I promise. What's this? This is my own drape. I'm home? Oh, I'm in my own bed, in my own room. Oh, look out there. The sun's shining. It's clear. It's bright. No fog. Oh, what a beautiful day. Oh, glorious. Glorious. Oh. Hey, boy. Boy.
Yes, sir?
What's today?
What's that, sir?
What day is it, my fine fellow?
Today? Why, it's Christmas Day.
Christmas Day? Then I haven't missed it. The spirits have done it all in one night. All in one night. Heaven be praised.
How's that, sir?
Listen, my lad, listen. Do you know where the poulterer is in the next street?
I should say I do.
What an intelligent boy, a remarkable boy. Tell me, do you know if they've sold the prize turkey that was hanging in the window?
For one as big as me?
What a delightful boy. It's a pleasure to talk to you. Yes, my buck.
It's hanging there now, sir.
Oh, well, that's wonderful. Now, go down, will you, and tell them to send it to Bob Cratchit and his family on Broad Street. And mind you, they're not to know who paid for it. Now, go along. Hurry, my lad. Oh, here, wait a minute. Here's half a crown for your trouble.
Yes, sir. And a Merry Christmas, sir.
And a Merry Christmas to you, my boy. I don't know what to do. I'm as light as a feather, as happy as an angel. I'm as merry as a schoolboy. Merry Christmas! A Merry Christmas to everybody! A Happy New Year to all the world! Woo-hoo! Woo-hoo!
What's his certain portion?
My dear sir, how do you do?
I beg your pardon?
Well, you, sir, aren't you the gentleman that came to my office in the regard to that charity?
Why, yes, sir.
A Merry Christmas to you.
Yes, sir.
And allow me to ask your pardon, sir, and will you have the goodness to accept a... No, I prefer to whisper this.
What? But Lord bless me, my dear Mrs. Scrooge. Are you serious?
Well, if you please. Now, not a farthing less. A great many back payments are included in it, I assure you. Will you do me that favor?
Well, my dear sir, I don't know what to say to such magnificence.
No, don't say anything, please. Just come and see me, will you? Will you come and see me?
I will indeed.
Oh, thank ye. I'm much obliged to you. Thank you 50 times. Bless you. Merry Christmas.
Next morning, Scrooge was early at his office. He went early for a reason. If he could only be there first and catch Bob Cratchit coming late, that was the thing he'd set his heart upon. And he did it. Yes, he did. The clock struck 9. No Bob. 1:15. No Bob. Scrooge sat with his door wide open that he might see him come in. At last he came. His hat was off before he opened the door, his comforter too. He was on the stool in a jiffy, driving away with his pen as if he were trying to overtake 9 o'clock.
15 and 21. 6, carry the 1. 24 and carry the 2. 31 and 8 and 9.
Hello,
9 carry.
you Cratchit.
Yes, sir.
Step this way, Cratchit, if you please. Cratchit, what do you mean by coming in at this time of day?
Why, I'm very sorry, sir. I am behind my time.
You are, yes, I think you are.
Oh, it's only once a year, Mr. Scrooge. It shall not be repeated. I was making rather merry yesterday, sir.
I'll tell you what, my friend. I'll not stand for this sort of thing any longer. And therefore, Bob Cratchit, and therefore... therefore, I'm about to raise your salary.
Mr. Scrooge? Are you quite all right, sir?
No. Thank heaven, I'm not quite myself. Merry Christmas, Bob.
Merry Christmas, Mr. Scrooge.
Merry Christmas, my good fellow. A merrier Christmas than I've given to you in many a year. I shall raise your salary, and we'll see what we can do for Tiny Tim and the rest of your family. Huh? We'll discuss it this very afternoon over a Christmas bowl of smoking bishop. Now, Bob, go make up that fire, will you? Make it up. And go buy another coal skullet before you dot another I, Bob Cratchit.
Yes, sir.
Scrooge was better than his word. He did it all and infinitely more. To Tiny Tim, who did not die, he was a second father. He became as good a friend, a good a master, and as good a man as the good old city knew, or any other good old city, town, or borough in the good old world. Some people laughed to see the alteration in him, but he let them laugh, and little heeded them. His own heart laughed, and that was quite enough for him. He had no further intercourse with spirits, but lived upon the total abstinence principle ever afterwards. And it was always said of him that he knew how to keep Christmas well if any man alive possessed the knowledge. May that be truly said of us, of all of us. And so, as Tiny Tim observed,
God bless us, everyone.
Joy to the world, the Lord has come. Let earth receive her King. Let every heart prepare him room
and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing.
This production of Charles Dickens' classic holiday ghost story, A Christmas Carol, was adapted for radio in 1939 by Orson Welles. It was further adapted and directed for LBSC by Joe Montanari and produced by Dana Leach. Our musical director was Edmund Velasco. Our engineer was Monica Wazinchuk. LBSC technical director is Jose Castro. Featured in tonight's story were Andy Kaylock as Scrooge, Leonardo Lerma as the narrator and Fred, Joe Montanari as Bob Cratchit and Marley's ghost, Sarah Hoven as the ghost of Christmas Past and Mrs. Cratchit, Kevin McGrath as the ghost of Christmas Present and the solicitor, Wyatt Najarian as young Scrooge and Peter Cratchit, Lauren Velasco as Fan, Martha Cratchit, and Belle, Tommy Tingley as Tiny Tim and Ebenezer at school. Other characters, sound effects, and songs were performed by members of the cast. Our keyboardist was Sarah Hoven. On behalf of the Long Beach Shakespeare Company, I am Lauren Velasco wishing you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
We wish you a Merry Christmas, we wish you a Merry Christmas, we wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Our technician in the booth. Merry Christmas, Helen.
What a great audience. Thank you very much.